Okay, so we've been working on this problem. Submersible that is exploring the ocean floor. And we're not talking about by the beach, are we?
No.
Okay. How deep is this submersible going?
About 2 miles.
Over 2 miles. Okay. 2 miles would be 10,560 feet. Okay, so this is almost 2.5 miles deep when we get down to 13,000 feet. That's incredibly deep. Okay. So anyway, it begins to ascend, begins to go back to the surface, and the elevation H. So H is elevation. I might have used D for this one maybe, but in feet of the submersible is modeled by this function. The height it is above the floor is modeled by 650 times T, where T is the time in minutes, minus 13,000. That's where we started. So here was your assignment. Your assignment was to graph the function, identify its domain and range. I told you make sure your graph has a title, make sure that your X and Y axes are labeled correctly. You're supposed to interpret the slope and the zeros, which means tell me what they mean in the context of this problem. And so here we go. Here's what it looks like and what I hope you have on your paper. So the height in terms of time is 650 times the time in minutes minus 13,000. And so when we go to graph this, our first zero is pretty easy to see. So I put X and Y, but I also put time and height. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We know at time 0 where we are. Yeah. Good. Okay. But graphing this one and going up 650 over 1, that just doesn't work when we're trying to graph it, does it? Okay. So we want to know what is the deal when h of t is a 0. And you've got to know to just put a 0 where h of t is and solve the problem. Okay? So, what do you want to do? How do you want to solve this?
Add 13,000.
Okay, add 13,000 to both sides. I didn't really show my work. You're okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Divide both sides by? Okay, 650. And t comes out to be 20. Now, part of your instructions were to interpret the zeros of the graph. So, interpret this for me. What is that? What does that mean?
So at 0 minutes, you're at negative 13,000 feet.
That's it. Okay, that's it. Interpret this one for me.
At 20 minutes, you're
at the surface.
at 0 feet.
You're at the surface. Yeah. Okay. That's what interpret them means. Okay. It doesn't just tell me what they are. 0, negative 13,000, and 20, 0. It means tell me what they mean. Okay. And also you're to interpret what the slope means. So if you just tell me the slope 650, well, that's not very helpful, is it? Even if you say 650 feet per 1 minute. But in this case, what is the slope telling us?
The submarine ascends at 650 feet every minute.
Right. That's the number of feet we're getting closer to the surface every minute. Right? Okay, so slope, it has to have some real meaning in our problem. What quadrant did you guys graph this in? So it's not positive time, positive height. It's not negative time, positive height. It's not negative time, negative height. It's positive time and? Okay. So that's where we're going to graph it. So let me move this up a little bit. So you don't have to show the other 4 quadrants really. We can just do this. So I'm kind of showing where they are, but we don't really care about them in this particular case, do we? And then this axis, what is it? What is it?
That is
Time in minutes.
Yeah, time in minutes. Okay? And then this axis is?
Height
height.
and speed.
Yeah, so this h of t is our height, oops, in feet. Okay. So I got to graph this point 0, negative 13,000. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000, 11, 12, 13. Oop. Got that? So I'm just going to put one of my zeros right here. And then 20, we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I really don't need to label all of those, but I think I better make that, I better label that, don't you? Okay, and it wouldn't hurt to say this is 15, this is 10, this is 5 for sure. So here's our other 0. And so I'm going to connect those two. Now this is a little weird because my 13,000 doesn't go down as far as my 20 goes over. Does anybody have their 13,000 way further down here and their 20 way closer so that their graph looks more like that? Would that be okay? Yeah, that would be fine. Okay, so there's our graph. We interpreted the slope. Does our graph have a title?
No.
We need a title. What do you want to call our graph? What'd you call yours?
The smaller submarine.
How close am I to dying? I hope I have enough oxygen. Right?
Then the small submarine.
How about, yeah, we'll just call it, when do I see the light? By the way, what would happen if suddenly your submersible got a crack in it and where like water could come? What would happen at that point?
You're done.
You either drown or
Yeah, you wouldn't drown.
pressure.
You'd do something. You would implode. You guys have heard of exploding, right?
Yeah, it's the opposite of
Yeah. So you'd implode. You'd
be crushed.
the whole thing would go from this big, like a submersible that 2 of you can sit in, to like the size of a bowling ball in an instant.
That reminds me of Despicable Me.
Wouldn't really have time to drown, would you?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, you'd just be
Mush.
mush. Yes.
There wouldn't even be any mush left.
Yeah, you'd be, yeah. Okay, so anyway, now that that's gross, let's talk about the domain of this function. The domain. Usually with domain we talk about x's. We don't have x's here. What do we have? Time. What is the lowest time that makes sense in this problem? 0. And the highest? 20. And what do both the alligators always do? Okay. And let me ask you, can time equal 0?
Yes.
And can it equal 20?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now time can go on, okay, 21, 22, 23 minutes, but I'm guessing that our height is gonna stay the same at that point, isn't it? It really is not gonna matter after that, is it? Okay. Okay, let's talk about the range of our function. Usually range is y's, but we don't have y's here. What do we have? H, height, right? So height. And what is the lowest height we are in this problem?
Negative 13,000.
You're right. I put the H in the wrong place. Oh well. Negative 30,000. And what's the greatest height? 0. And that work?
Yep.
Okay, did I do everything? Did we answer everything? We interpreted the slope and the zeros. We wrote the domain and the range. We did our graph. Our graph has a title. We use straight edge. Has arrows on the ends. Everything labeled good. We have everything?
Yep.
Okay, there's your 40 points. You learned something?
Yes.
Okay.